Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Adam from 21st Century Workshop with a video about why you must see The Joker. I've really struggled to shake this sort of pensive feeling that I had since I walked out the movie theater last week. It's stayed with me like a bad smell. Maybe doing this video is my attempt to exorcise it out of me or something. But I also think I'm getting frustrated by the media repeatedly bashing the movie over and over again for being something you shouldn't watch because it's too violent. It's an ode to the angry incel white male. I'm starting to come across a little angry on this video, aren't I? I think you've got to go and see it for a couple of really important reasons. Number one, for the depiction of the raw isolation of being disabled in society. And secondly, because this movie holds up a mirror to society, particularly of the austerity politics that my friends and family have faced at home in the UK and many people have faced across Europe and in the United States. This is a warning of what human beings can do when they have nothing left to lose. Spoiler alert, I am going to talk about the movie in quite some detail. If you haven't seen it yet, please just stop watching, cancel your plans and go and see it. And if you enjoy this video, please don't forget to subscribe to 21st Century Workshop. First of all, it's important to recognize that this movie is meant to be open to interpretation. Apparently, the director Todd Phillips was inspired by the classic graphic novel by Alan Moore, The Killing Joke. In it, the Joker says, "If I'm going to have a past, I want it to be multiple choice." We realize this quickly in the movie when we find out that Arthur is not a reliable narrator at all. The most obvious example of this is his imaginary romance with a woman down the hall. But he's also questioned at various other times. Was he given the gun or did he buy it? Was the sign stolen from him or did he steal it? Is this whole story real or is it just his imagination? Joaquin Phoenix, who plays the Joker, brilliantly said in an LA Times article, "This movie requires a certain amount of participation from the audience. It's up to you how you want to interpret it and experience it." One of the most striking takeaways from the movie was Arthur's brutal experience of living with disability. Joker takes place in the urban dystopia that is Gotham City, a world infested with super rats, worker strikes, crime, and inequality. Arthur is a skinny, decrepit, and wretched human being who lurks, skulks, and slithers through the world. He makes the world uncomfortable and nauseous. He has a condition that makes him laugh uncontrollably whenever he feels bad. The laugh is empty and devoid of any humor. It causes him and those around him pain. It's almost hideous. We find out later that Arthur has experienced severe child abuse, clearly suffering from some post-traumatic stress disorder. But the abuse has never stopped. It's carried on. Most of this movie, Arthur is getting beaten down physically and emotionally, and all he asks for is love and decency and kindness. He doesn't understand why the world is the way it is. First, the therapist, Joker, says, "Is it just me or does it feel like it's getting worse out there?" And the therapist is like, "Yeah, whatever." Later in the movie, she reveals that budget cuts will put her out of work and he's gonna have to try and find his medication somewhere else. They don't give a fuck about people like you, Arthur, and they don't care about me either. One of the saddest scenes in the movie takes place on a bus. Arthur's sat on a seat behind a child. Kid is gleeful. It's like a moment of joy when his mother turns around and says, "Will you quit bothering my kid?" Shock brings out Arthur's laughter and the response he gets from people around him who look at him disgusted, disturbed. The inhumanity of that scene is so hard to watch. Soon we're introduced to Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's father. Now, in previous Batman movies, Bruce Wayne's father has always been kind, a philanthropic man, but in this movie he's a villain, running for mayor, filthy rich, and blaming poor people for their own poverty. Arthur believes that he's his father and confronts him in a public toilet. He asks Thomas Wayne for just some decency, just some warmth, just some love, just a hug, and Thomas Wayne punches him in the face. Oh, it's just so hard to watch. Lastly, Murray Franklin, the game show host that Arthur idolizes. Arthur daydreams whilst watching this show about Murray Franklin turning to him and saying, "You know, you're the son I never had. You know, there's something special about you." But in the end, Murray mocks Arthur for being a bad comedian and tries to humiliate him on his show. Even his catchphrase says it all. That's life. And there's nothing you can do about it. When people have nothing left to lose, people will choose chaos. It's a Marxist class struggle where the bourgeoisie rise up to overthrow the capitalists, where the oppressed fight against their oppressors. When Arthur turns violent and starts becoming the Joker, it's a release for him, and it's a release for the audience in the cinema as well. And he murders his mother, murders his former colleague, murders Murray Franklin, and then murders his counselor at Arkham State Hospital. Part of you is rooting for him. What he does is sickening, but then can you blame him? Seeing him find his power, lose his laugh, and say, fuck it. Todd Phillips has somehow successfully made us identify with a murderer. Yes, the Joker is violent. The debate or discussion around violence distracts from much more important discussions that need to be had. Statistically, every year, 1 in 5 Americans will experience a mental health disorder. Meanwhile, we're witnessing the strange death of the middle class in the United States. The lifestyle of the average earner just 50 years ago, reasonably sized house, dependable healthcare system, reliable pension, reasonable quality of life. These are becoming the preserve of the rich. Lastly, before I went into the movie, I saw that Martin Scorsese had criticized this Marvel universe for not being cinema. Sort of shrugged this off a little bit as snobbery. I've enjoyed Marvel movies before. The only other movie that I've seen twice that I can remember was this one and Black Panther. It's like, what do you mean it's not cinema? Like, it's on at the cinema. But after seeing The Joker and how influenced it was by Scorsese's Taxi Driver, The King of Comedy, and others, I read the rest of the quote, and it reads, "It isn't the cinema of human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological experiences to another human being." The Joker does that. No CGI, no capes, no sex, just raw, brutal emotion, and it needs to be watched. Thank you so much for watching. Did you feel as affected by the Joker as I was? Please feel free to say so in the comments. If you'd like to watch another video, please click here. If you'd like to subscribe, please click here. It really helps the channel grow. And last but not least, learn for life, my friends.